Okay, here we go. Another day of whatever the hell it brings. Woo! More painting. All right, did a couple of changes. We'll see if we can tell a difference. Unfortunately, I knew I had seen some of these settings I was talking about the other day, but some are only accessible as I start the stream. So I set the text a lot bigger, and I was an idiot and didn't set it as high as it'll go because I see it's probably twice as big as I was seeing it before, but I'm still probably going to have to. I could probably read it without putting my glasses on, so it may be slightly annoying. We'll see how much painting we can get done tonight. I got done mowing the lawn, and my eyes are irritated a little bit. I was playing with grass and my eyes are irritated, whatever the hell that means. Nah, if I was going to do drugs ever in my life, I'd do something, motivational, like cocaine or something like that. You get more shit done. You get more painting done, not less. Not sit around, be lazy, and eat stuff. I'm already a pro at that. Oh, man. Seeing doubles. Are you? No, I think I got sweat behind my contacts and my eyes are burning a little bit. A little bit. You go away. It's dusty out there. All right, so next set of cavalry. And then, of course, we got to paint these guys black. So I might have to fool around with some other stuff while I'm getting these guys ready. I didn't plan properly. But I wanted to take pictures of the last guys this morning so we could move on to this group. All right. Sitting around eating stuff is the American way. That's right. That's what got us where we're at. What do you mean I'm not in shape? I'm just, pear-shaped. Yeah. Well, I got one of my goals done the other day. I consistently can do the easy goal. I'm able to do 3 sets of 10 dips without any weight compensation. So now I got to my next goal is to do 1 pull-up ever in my life. So we'll see. I don't know that I've ever been able to do a pull-up, but that's going to be my goal. There's small goals. I figure, if we're going to have a civil war in this country, I need to be in better shape. Oh, let's see. But one of the things I changed is the delay. You guys, it should be a little faster. It's your video quality may suffer, but it should be a little bit faster as far as response time on the screen. So, okay, may have overdone the walking. Today I only got half my normal walk-in because my ankle is hurting real bad. Yeah, my legs were hurting a little bit, and I don't know why, because I haven't done legs lately. Oh, well. A little bit, meaning I felt something, and it'll go away. I'm not worried about it. All right. Let's do this. This is the messy thing I do. I'm not a big fan of making messes. Making mess when you're painting is kind of like being incompetent. Here, let's get some of this dust off. Well, I did find out something really interesting today. If you ever want a breeze, I mean, we're kind of landlocked where we're at. We don't have much of a breeze. It's hot and there's no breeze, right? So if you ever in need of a breeze, I have a secret to get one to happen. Go get your blower out, like you're going to blow the trimmings from mowing, and start blowing them. And as soon as you start blowing them, there's always a breeze that springs up in the opposite direction. It keeps you from being able to blow them correctly. So that's happened a few times for me now. Try to do 6 days. 5's a bit too much. Have a question for you in regards to basing for naval games using GHQ Micronauts. Hit me. You said you would use tongue depressors, correct? Would you leave the front edge rounded, or would you clip both the front and rear of the oppressor? I would leave the front rounded. That's how I would do them now. That's how my 6000s are. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a deal with you. I'm going to paint these guys in black because I need to let them dry. And then we'll go look at some naval stuff in 2400 scale, and the 6000s are our tongue depressors, and because I'm going to need a little bit of drying time. So that's actually helpful. And this should only take about maybe 5 minutes. And then we'll go take a look at them, okay? Because I definitely need something to do while, hell, we can start the quiz back up. Or we can continue the quiz. 2 of the high scorers are already on. Perfect. That was fun. That was fun to do something different. I had to skip a lot of questions, though, because some of them were just thinking I would leave the front edge rounded and the rear clip with an attached label on the back. Sounds good to me. That's exactly what I would do. Yeah, I'll take a look. I have an example of what I would do with the 6000s. I didn't happen upon doing that until I was basically had already sold all my 2400s. The 2400s, I guess, looked okay by other people's standards, but I had so many of them, and some were built and some were started and some were missing pieces, and it was just like I just kept buying and buying and buying. When I had a lot of them painted, I probably had 250 of them painted and labeled and stuff, but the group I was playing with basically disappeared and stopped doing it. That was before Joe showed up. Joe, of course, plays 1/2400 scale stuff, but we used to play Sea Creek 4 a lot. Never really got a chance to play Sea Creek 5 very much because everybody was gone by that point, but I'm not playing a range estimating game on the floor anymore. Those days it's not worth it. And of course you can play without range estimating, but with Sea Creek 4, but the group I was with always wanted to range estimate. I had one guy that I used to play with. He was like a freaking carpenter. It was amazing what he could do. But you still had to roll. Even if you guessed the range right, you still had to roll to hit. It's not like you got an automatic hit. It means you just got close, but that's when we were young and stupid. I remember we played one game on the floor for 26 hours straight. That's right. We started at about 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, played all through the night until about noon on Sunday. Went through like 4 cases of Pepsi. That was back when we were drinking regular Pepsi. Thought the quiz was fun. I can help with that. What rules do you use, Joe? Yeah, Joe uses... I told Joe we got to play... he's got to run some Sea Creek 5. I have the rules. I just... the problem with Sea Creek 5 is they run it at our convention, and our convention is like strict 4-hour sessions. And I love naval stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm a rivet counter by all means. So Sea Creek 5 really scratches my itch. But you've got to be somebody who's who knows what ships are and stuff like that, or to be into that. And the scenarios just are going to take longer than the 4-hour session. So if you play it at a convention, for the most part, you're not going to finish the battle. And that goes counterintuitive to anything else that I'm into playing right now. I definitely want to finish the battle. And it's not like it needs to be only 4 hours long because it's boring. I don't think it's boring at all. But you got to be into ships, You got to be a ship guy. I think, anyways. I mean, that's what the appeal to me is. I mean, that's the first thing I got into. When I got into World War II, I got into ships. And that's because my dad had these really cool books on battleships and stuff like that. And, I was 10, 11 years old, and he had these books, and I really got into them. And then I started reading them in junior high. And then I found out, there's people play this war game called Sea Creek 4 at the hobby store. Well, what's this all about? I'm like, holy shit, there's little ships you can paint up. Yep, I was sold. I remember we did the 50th anniversary of what we like to call the New Year's Eve battle. We always call it the New Year's Eve battle. I think the accurate terminology for it is Battle of the Barents Sea. And that's when it's a World War II battle with the Arctic convoys. And the Germans go and do a sortie against a convoy, and they split up in two different groups and attack the convoy from two different directions. And I guess it was successful because it was more successful than other engagements because they actually got into an engagement. And I don't think that the Germans lost a ship, but if they did, it was just a destroyer. But that's one of my favorite ones. It's a battle that's pretty balanced. And I remember a buddy of mine did it. Of course, we played it on the damn floor on the 50th anniversary of it. So that would have been New Year's Eve 1992 before we went out, and I don't know I forget what the hell we did, but afterwards. But I remember we did the New Year's Eve battle on New Year's Eve. I don't remember who won. We played that one many times, and it's a well balanced one. That's what Sheffield and Jamaica and escorting destroyers, a convoy versus Hipper and 3 destroyers, and Lutzow and 3 destroyers. Well, we usually did a bunch of historical what ifs. So we'd take, a battle that almost happened, and put them put all the ships, the orders of battles on the table, like they actually engaged. So it's not like, we're playing these games where it's like, okay, we got the Yamato and the Bismarck all on the same side. That bullshit. That we never did stuff like that. That's just moronic. I guess it'd be like TBA. We're gonna have the Acadians fight the Charles the Bold. No, we didn't do stuff like that when it comes to 20th century conflict. I don't know why it doesn't bug me too much with these ancients and stuff, but it doesn't. think we got most of the spots. Let's go take a look at those ships. Actually, I'm going to read the comments and let's go take a look at those ships. Because I saved a few. And I do mean a few. Does Modeler's Mart exist? Do I know? It does not exist. I only got a chance to go there twice. And that was a cool freaking place. That was a cool freaking place. The last time I went there was like 1999. It's 1999. April of 99, something like that. And that was a cool freaking place. And that place was stocked with all kinds of stuff. And the sad thing about Modeler's Mart is I was not into ancients and medieval when Modeler's Mart was around. So most of the stuff they had there was not stuff that appealed to me. So it was in the last place it was in was in Clearwater, Florida. Welcome, Nathan. 28mm Cowboys for Dracula's America. What's it about? It's Dracula, man. It's in the title. Yeah. I don't know when they closed. I'm going to say somewhere in 2000 or something like that. Yeah, we used to, in the early 90s, we used to take road trips down to Tampa, which is about 2 hours away. Back when gas, who knows what the hell gas was. $1.30 a gallon, $1.40 a gallon, whatever the hell it was. But it's more, that's more than it is now because I had a part-time shit job back then. So, you know, gas is cheaper for me now. Let's put it that way. But, you know, we used to take road trips down there and you'd get butterflies in your stomach just seeing what the heck they could possibly have there. And they had a lot, man. They had minifigs galore. They had a lot of minifigs. And actually, I did pick up some Renaissance stuff for. I was going to use Armati at the time, and I finally painted some of them when I painted my Spanish, my Book 468. What is it? E, D and E Army. Finally, no, it's E and F. So, all right, let's go take a look at some ships. Should be able to find these relatively easy. At first, I didn't base them. And a lot of my ships were a company called CNC, and they're still around. And the bottoms of their bases were flat. So what I did was, instead of writing the names on the bases, there were some guys I played with, which what they started doing was they would paint the name of the ship on the bottom of the base, and they would color code the color of the base of the ship depending on the nationality. And I saw it, and I thought it was really, really cool. So, you know, being the copycat that I am, hey, I don't copy people's ideas if they suck. If they're good ideas, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I don't say, hey, I came up with them on my own, you know. But I'm not going to be able to find this without a little light. Which is the 1/6000, which are the ones that are done correctly. Oh, I know what. They're probably down here, aren't they? They sure are. Perfect. All right. Because the 6000s I did the other day. But anyway, so they color coded the bottom, so like the British were red. So all British ships had a red bottom. You know, you couldn't see it from the side view, but when you flipped them over, it would say, you know, Ramillies or Repulse or, you know, Gurkha or, you know, whatever the heck the name of the ship was. And Americans, I think, were white. The French were blue, you know, a mid-blue like this. And actually, I had a lot of French ships. Italians were green. Germans were gray, Japanese were yellow. Yeah. So they were doing that, and I'm like, that looks pretty good. Well, then you get some superior ships, or the GHQ ones that have, you know, a metal saving thing where they almost just have crossbars. They're not solid. I mean, their smaller ships are solid, but cruisers and capital ships and carriers are not solid on those. Like minifigs back in the day, I still do. The game store was at the main distributor of minifigs for the East Coast, so they were there as exposed and miniatures wise for a long time. Dracula assassinated Lincoln, took over the U.S. Was Dracula a Confederate? Well, you know what? If Dracula was a Confederate, his fangs would be the only teeth he'd have. Hey, and I'm from the South, okay? But I call them like I see them. Toothless wonder. All right. What did I keep? I didn't keep very many ships. And I mean, like, I kept like 3. These are the only ones that I have here. Mixed in with some other shit. So what I started originally was to not base them at all. Shots fired at the Confederates. Hey, brush your freaking tooth. And put on some shoes, Mitch. So originally they weren't on any bases at all. I don't know why I need to show you a ship with no base, but here it is. This, I believe, is a Russian minesweeper that's carried by Viking Forge. We need to get closer than that, or we're not going to get anywhere here. Let's use a point of reference for something. What if he has dentures? They haven't been invented yet. Okay, so this is a 1/2400 scale. I believe this is a Russian minesweeper. I don't know why I kept one, but it's definitely some kind of minesweeper or whatever. It only has like a 3-inch gun or something like that. You can see it up here. And it was actually not bad detail. So originally I just painted them and they would just fall all over the place, I guess, when they got carried. Then I actually need to flip this because this is driving me bananas. Having all these booger smears and stuff like that on here. Oh, this one's no better either. Maybe I'll just flip it like this. There we go. Zombie Confederate. Sounds like a Call of Duty special effect. Download content. Can you imagine a VR game? I've played a VR game with, guns and stuff like that. And it's pretty intense. I just caught myself not having the charger on the damn computer. Well, what? Yeah, I do. No, I don't. That would have been a disaster. VR game where you actually pick up a gun and I actually downloaded one and it was insane because you could drop magazines and reload them and it was pretty immersive. But if you got one with muskets, you gotta do this, for like 30 seconds before you can fire again. Somebody looking at you, what the hell are you doing over there? Never mind. Keep the kids away. So then I started painting the base, putting them on a base because it protects them. And also, it looks nice, and I'd hand paint the name of the ship. So this is a World War I GHQ light cruiser. And we have Falmouth painted on there. The hell I did this, I don't know, 95, something like that. It was after already painting because it's actually done the same method I do now. It took for frickin' ever. There's no washing on here. This is all, it looks like shit on the camera. You can't tell, but you can, there's lots of different coats of different, and we put a little jack on there. Probably not the scale still, it's probably too big. Actually, this is a mast that we added on there. So this is what I was doing. I was converting all my guys to this. And this is a standard blue color that I used on everything. And it was just a plain piece. I didn't want to put wake marks or anything like that. I'm actually not a fan of that. And then towards the end, I started printing them out. And this is a GHQ Benham class destroyer in measure 21. For those of you guys that know. Mast looks a little crooked. Yeah, it's a piece of sprue and it's old. So, shit, it's almost 30 years old. This is a GHQ Benham in measure 21. And no, it is not. And believe it or not, I know you can't make this out. The deck color is not the same color as the side. I've got like paint chips. I went crazy with stuff, trying to get the right colors and everything. And what's this? This is and towards the end, I actually got them magnetized. So this is and then the blue paint that was no longer available, so I had to try to find a substitute for it. This is a GHQ Turbine class destroyer with the candy stripes on there. I don't think they're etched onto the model. Anyhow. And then, I just kind of didn't do naval stuff anymore. Sold it. Nobody was doing anything with them. I used to play Sea Creek 4, but you can use them for whatever the heck you want. But if I had to do them now, this is how I would do them. So, I've shown these before. These are on popsicle sticks, and they're not the same scale. They're 1/6000, which is what the scale I would do now. I would not do 1/2400 anymore because the scale of the ship is way out of scale with the game. Even these, the ships are too big. So these are actually modern. And why are they on here? Because they're magnetized. So they've got little magnets on them. They don't weigh anything. And these are actually 3D printed. Let's see if I can get the light in here to show these off. And I actually painted all these up and never played a game with them. And I probably did these in the last 6 years, something like that. And these are Chinese, the bad guys. Chinese and Japanese. I gotta take these out. There's too much shine in here. We'll get some better light in here. Let's unblock this. Actually, you know what? Let's turn this little light on. These are 3D printed from Shapeways. So this is the Chinese, and they have a little flag on there that I just put together on Excel and printed it, and it has the little name of the ship. And I went and found, painted the helicopter deck lines on them and everything. And I think they turned out really, really well. Shenyang and the Shenzhen and the Letsao and the Haiku and the whatever, But they all have little magnets so they can travel and not beat the shit out of each other. And there's no washing on these either. These are painted the same way that I do stuff now, which, you know, these actually are a lot of fun to. These are actually popsicle sticks. So it's the front's rounded, and I just cut them off depending on the length of whatever I want. And actually, the fact that they're on a little magnet, there's a little bit of a gap sideways, so it makes them actually easier to pick up. But that's how I would do them. And of course, I got the Japanese. So what's this? 4 guided missile destroyers and a couple of frigates. The Japanese have a couple destroyers. Actually, for a scenario that I found out on a website that involves, I've got what's the third force that I have? Taiwan. Taiwan's the other one. They use U.S. ships. So the Taiwanese are actually Hallmark. Figurehead. They're actually figurehead. These aren't made by anybody. So they're I got them in Shapeways. They got the little helicopter deck markings, all hand painted. Never done anything with them. I've got the rules for it, and I just don't have the motivation to start it. But I had a lot of fun painting them. But this is the scale I would do stuff in now. So you started with the Naval Battle of Narvik. Well, that one's not very boring. That one's not very exciting. There's a British battleship at short range blowing the German destroyers to bits that are just anchored. That is really confined area. So, but yeah, I've done a ton of World War II gaming. I'm fine not doing any more World War II naval. I would actually, if I had to do naval again, I would probably do Victorian era what ifs. So I would do, you know, basically like if a world war broke out in the 1880s, 1890s, and you know, you could have, you know, French helping British, or maybe they're against them. You know, it's just everything's there in play for a conflagration to open up in that period. And you know, as a naval gamer, I hate anything aircraft related because they kind of just keep you from spotting each other, or you spot each other a long distance and you can avoid battle. So that's not what it's about. It's about, you know, getting the ships to blow holes in each other, or ram each other, what have you. But I would probably do Victorian type stuff. The first Battle of Narvik. Yeah, it was still unbalanced. We've done a lot of stuff. I love the Mediterranean. If I'm going to do World War II, my favorite theater was the Mediterranean. Because, you know, both sides have battle wagons. Both sides have aircraft if they want them. They can do fleet actions. There are convoy intercepts from both sides. You could throw the French in for some what-if stuff early on. It's just a really, you know, it's a really neat theater. You know. And World War I's good too, but you know, the World War II, what's really cool is you got different paint schemes for the ships. World War I, everybody's not painting the same way, unless you want to do something like paint those funnels on those German ships like they did for identification. And honestly, that falls in the category of things I'd never do. It just doesn't look right. I don't care if they did it in real life, it just doesn't look right. You take something really nice looking like the Seydlitz, or I always thought the Seydlitz was a really cool ship. Or a dirt flinger, that's what we used to call it. Dirt flinger class battle cruiser, and paint one of the funnels red. I don't care if they did it in real life, it looks stupid. So, contemplating World War II, Napoleonic Wars for naval. I absolutely detest Napoleonic Wars for naval. All the ships look the same. You know, there's no reason to for me. It's the wrong theater for me. And American Civil War would be cool, except it's American Civil War, which is I can't think of a war I'm less interested in that anybody games. Should say that anybody games because there's stuff that is less interesting than American Civil War. But though I look at it, even if I don't end up using the models painted, still feel like getting money's worth just for the entertainment of painting models themselves. Yep. Really want to build a model kit of a wooden ship with cannons. No, they have them out there. Okay, are these guys dry yet? We didn't do the guy with the bow first. Let's do the guy with the bow first. All right, 9 people on. Wow, now we got more people on weekend nights than we do in the weekends. Hey, that works. I'm gonna get a refill on some ice, and I'll be right back. Okay. Can imagine frustration level. Intricate on a wooden ship would feel awesome when it's finished, but the process might well cause some PTSD. I picked up a model, like a wooden kit of a galleon that was close to 15 millimeter scale. It was all wooden. And that's not the hard part. The hard part is putting the frickin' hull together. You have to like use like special stuff that holds the thing in place. No. No. That whole getting something that's like this and you have to bend it so it's I don't need to start that. So I ended up bought it. It was like a couple $100 and like sold it on eBay for like a $50 loss. I'll call that one a win there. You were hyped to get a 350 hood from Trumpeter. Got some photo etch for it. My God, gave me PTSD to the point I got frustrated. I quit the build. When I was building ship models, photo etch didn't exist. Yeah. The problem with photo etch for me would be how to glue it. Okay, let's do this guy, and he's going to be a light colored horse. Well, you know what? Let me bring the other stand. Make sure I don't do any repeat colors on the same position. Let's see where this guy is. We finished him this morning. We put pictures of him on. No, that's the wrong one. We put pictures of him on Facebook. So if you guys aren't on Facebook, you never saw him. And I think they turned out really well. But anyways, this is and there's just not enough light in here for photo purposes. The problem is that one thing blocks something else, and anyhow, I think they turned out really well. But we've got this bow shooting guy. Okay, he's on the dark colored horse. Okay, so we're going to do a light one with this one. That's what we will do. Let's set these guys off to the side over here. Railings and ladders. The only ship models I built were the 600 scale Airfix ones when I was a kid. I didn't have any paints. The only paints I had was a paint by number set that somebody gave me. I was like 11 or 12 years old when I built it. And it was a Bismarck. And I have no paints for it. And I always liked the Bismarck because I liked reading about it, you know, when I was in junior high and stuff. And it's a cool looking ship. There's lots of cool looking ships. Most ships are cool looking. And I wanted to paint the deck, and the only thing I had was oil paint by numbers. So I got something that was probably freaking yellow, super yellow colored. I should have. Well, you couldn't take pictures on your phone and stuff like that, but I'm sure it looked like ass. And I painted the deck with some mustard yellow color because it was the closest thing I had to like a deck color, and it took like 3 weeks to dry. You know, oil paints on plastic, go figure, right? How's that going to work? When's that ever going to dry? It doesn't. Therein lies the problem. All right, let's get the color we're going to use for the overall one. We need our happy little light over here. And something like this. U.S. Tan Earth. Yeah, mix. This is older than dirt. Let's not use this color. Let's go over here. What's this one hiding down here? Oh, Iraqi sand? There's the other Iraqi sand. Well, you're just totally in the wrong place there, pal. Yeah, something like this color. Let's move these guys off this side. Yeah. Cork brown. Cork, cork. I hear a mixing ball in there. Yeah, I like how that stand turned out. They look better in person. They look better in pictures. They look like crap in video. There's just not enough light. Not enough light. There's plenty of light here. It just doesn't transfer well to the video. We got enough black. Is it alive? I think so. Intro to Wargaming was early 2000s Warhammer Fantasy Goblin Army. Painting 60 individual models to make up a single unit was a crash course in the hobby. What I use for mixing balls? Well, Army Painter makes some. And they're like $6, I think. And they have more than you ever need. Because I think we're like 100 in here. Yeah, $6. And they're stainless steel. And, oh, these sons of bitches are made in China. Mother! Well, I bought these before the closeout. Buy at your own risk. Who knows what they're made out of? Anyways, I use these and they work just fine. I've probably not even used half of them. Warhammer Crash Course in Insanity in a Money Pit. It's extremely intimidating. Warhammer stuff is really extremely intimidating. They have gods that paint that stuff. The people that paint for them are just out of control. You know, you basically have to. Well, I haven't painted a 28 millimeter, but I would think. Well, they still would blow me away. You know, so. That's really intimidating for new players, because I mean, you're not even going to get close to the level that those people paint for probably 30 years. I find that extremely intimidating. But the people that they have that paint their stuff are really, you know. I picked up many White Dwarf magazines because I was just enamored with how it looked, but I've never played a Games Workshop game other than Hero Quest. Played that once. But their stuff is really expensive. You need a lot of them. Well, maybe not this. Maybe not if you're playing a warband type game. But you used to need a lot of figures to play it. They were expensive. And there's people out there promoting them on their magazine that look like they're painted by gods. So, you know, it's really intimidating, I think. I mean, your stuff doesn't need to look like that to play, but, you know. I went from hurricane force winds to too slow. American-made fishing sinkers. Yeah, just make sure that they're stainless so that they don't oxidize. Yeah, I just don't understand why. I just don't understand why we buy Chinese shit gets imported. It could be from anywhere else other than there, and you know, maybe a few other places. But you know, and cost, that's bullshit. The cheapest paints I have are the ones that are made in the U.S. These Americana and folk art, They're all made in the U.S. and they're like under $1 each. So cost is bullshit. You know, that's just excuses. I really go out of my way to not buy anything that comes from those places, just out of principle. Now, if I gotta have something, well, what are you gonna do? But no need to deal with Games Workshop and their bullcrap. What's their bullcrap? Oh, uh, I will approach Warhammer 40k Age of Sigmar from a collector's viewpoint hobbyist. Like some of their models, hate the game, so I get what I like and paint it how I want. There you go. They're your figures. You can paint them however the hell you want. I don't do fantasy figures, but there are some. I've been to shops that specialize in that, and there's a line of figures, and I want to say they're Reaper. I could be wrong, but they're cast like they look like they're cast in plastic. They're in bubble packaging, and they're about this color. They might even be actually white. I'm thinking they might be off white, and they look beautiful. It's just I don't do fantasy stuff, but that stuff looks pretty good. You got it folk art for 117. Yeah, and they're all made in the U.S. And so is Americana and Craft Smart. All of those cheap ass freaking paints. I don't use them for miniatures because they don't cover that well, but I use them for backgrounds and terrain. Hey, you could use them for miniatures, but I already have all these other paints, and they cover better. But all those little background paintings I've done, those are done with $1 paint things. I would love to go and, if I was just looking for excuses on things to spend money on, yeah, I would love to go and buy, a whole set of Liquitex colors, the tubes and stuff, but I'm not going to get my money's worth out of that stuff. And my $1 paints work fine. There's no point in getting, $12 paints. Anything's better than those damn Pactras that we had when we were kids. They make testers paint seem like, the greatest thing. They have political agendas and set stupid rules for their games and such. Well, I don't want anybody with political agendas. Just make your game and shut the hell up. The edges of bases, yes. I use the edges of bases for that. Be interesting to see if Games Workshop gets out of 3D printing or continue to try to bury it and end up like Kodak did with digital cameras. Yeah. Yeah, Kodak kind of... or how Betamax ended up. Oh, there's a badass that just went by the street. Had to rev his engine or something. Probably some short dude. I didn't know that Games Workshop was involved in politics, but it doesn't surprise me. Everybody seems to be involved in it when nobody should be involved in it. Just make your damn product, man. Just shut the hell up. You know, if you shut up about your politics, people don't have to boycott you over your politics. Hey, it's amazing how that works. You know, if you have an agenda, just shut the hell up about it and donate to whoever it is that you want. But don't get on a soapbox and say, well, we're going to do this because we think this, and you alienate, you know, people buying stuff from you. Maybe some people don't care, but some people do. Delving into my Coke addiction. Well, to be honest with you, I haven't had any all day. So this is just like mild caffeine. If I have coffee now, I'm going to have a not very restful night's sleep. And we don't need that. We don't need that at all. So only having played a handful of DBA games, just me, or the lit elements for experienced player who need added challenge seems like a bizarre piece. So, a couple things about a litter element, in my opinion on them. It is a bizarre piece. It's kind of wacky. It's an opportunity to do a little diorama. There's not that many units that have a litter or a command post. Or a command wagon. There's only one, I think, that has a command wagon. And this army has a command post, and it will be the last element that I do. And that's actually why I picked to do this army, is for the command post, for the diorama possibilities. It's really wacky. Is it for experienced players? It's just counterintuitive. A lot of the things about DBA are, and this is not me knocking the rules, but as an experienced wargamer, it's strange when you come across you know, all these things that are in one rule set, which are just counterintuitive. And you read them, and at first glance, it looks like, oh, well, this element is like this. But then you look, and then, oh, there's another rule. Oh, it can't do this. It can't do the other thing. It can do this, but it can't. Oh, well, this does. You know, so it's very strange because all the rules for it are not all in one place where you can easily digest what it's good at, what it's not good at. So the first thing you have to understand is the concept of the war wagon and the litter. And is that the only two? War wagon and the litter can either be on a 40 by 40 stand or a 40 by 80 stand. They're able to be on a 40 by 80 because an earlier version of DBA, they needed to be on there. And DBA was, I don't know about 1.0, but 2.2 was created almost kind of like, this is a starter game, and when, you know, you grow up and be a big boy, you'll play DBM like the rest of us. And in DBM, those units had to be on a 40 by 80, so you had to play with them on a 40 by 80. The problem with a 40 by 80 stand is not that it takes up a lot of space and it is unwieldy. because sometimes that can be an advantage. Like if you're trying to block an area and, maybe you've got a unit that's really good against, say, knights, like a war wagon is. A war wagon is pretty good against knights, and it can block a whole lot of space that the knights can't get through because you can put it on a 40 by 80 or a 1 base width by 2 base width. The problem with that is that you can only, I don't have a 40 by 80. Again, this is one of those things that's not readily apparent. Do I have two 40s? No, here's a 40. I've never played DBM either, and I never will. I'd rather play more games of DBA. I'd like all the details. I'm not knocking the details. I'm just like, I don't have the time for that. I don't have the time to play that many games wrong before I get one right. So a war wagon and command post can be either this size or this size. In earlier versions of DBA, it had to be this size. And war wagons too. So the thing that's weird about it is when it's this size, you can contact it to the front or you can contact it to the side, but you can't contact it here. So you can contact it here. If this is the front of the war wagon, you can contact it here, but you can't contact it here. It's not like, well, the long size I can get 2 units to come in contact with. You can't. So now you have to play a game that looks awkward because nobody can contact it here. And I just don't want to play it that way because the idea of that being the case is stupid. So I opt to do them on this size. Okay, so then you don't have to worry about, you can have another unit here that's not really in combat kind of thing. It's not like it's a city where you can actually have multiple people attack it at the same time. If you could, then it would make sense, but you can't, so I'm going to do mine on 40 by 40s. Okay, so command post litter is really weird. It's basically fights like a blade, like a solid blade, but it can't go into combat or overlap anybody. So you basically, it's like an artillery piece that you can't move into those overlap or combat. But it obviously doesn't shoot at a distance. It's basically a blade, and if it's a litter or a command post, it's a blade general, which is nothing to scoff at. A blade has pretty good numbers. Make it a blade general, it's 6 versus foot. And it's 4 versus mounted. Now here's where it gets weird, okay? Because all that's pretty easy to understand. It has the characteristics of a blade in that it'll quick kill a knight on a tie. Oh, and it doesn't recoil either. I think it doesn't recoil. So it doesn't recoil, but it does kill knights on a tie in close combat. And it's not quick killed by a knight. That's the real the clincher. You got to basically double it. It's freaking hard to double a litter, okay? And you can't close the door on it. So if you outscore it, nothing happens to it. The only way you can kill it is by doubling the unit or having 2-foot units in close combat with 2 different edges. So either, one's attacking on the front, one's on the side, or one's the front, one's the rear. And then you outscore it then. So that generally doesn't happen. And it's pretty hard to double a blade. So generally, if you're fighting one, you find out where it is and you go somewhere else, because it's just like a pain in the ass to deal with. Now, it sounds like it's really powerful, but it can't go into close combat. It has its limitations. So it's just kind of a unique thing. I've got one for the Pope. I'm going to have this guy for the Byzantine Emperor. And, it'll look cool. But I don't want to do it on a 40 by 80 because it's just, every time you use it, you have that rule rubbed in your face that you can't have somebody else contacting when it's just, I'd rather not do that. It just becomes really weird. Tony, you would like this. When I played DBA, we used 1/72 scale plastic miniatures. Did you use them on this size stand, or did you have to go to a bigger stand? They have a lot of plastic miniatures for ancients and medieval. A lot of them. I just don't like the idea of painting plastic miniatures because they could bend and the paint could flake off. As far as them being nice miniatures, yeah, they make some nice miniatures of 1/72 scale. I'm a big fan of 1/72 scale for all my wargaming. My World War II skirmish is that scale, or 20 mil. I like that scale a lot. I can't recall, to be honest. I think we use standard base stands. Well, the reality is some of them aren't that much bigger than 15 millimeter because the 15 sometimes are oversized, so I know that the 1/72 scale figures are more realistic looking than other stuff. Zvezda, and there's actually quite a few miniatures. Have you been to that website called Plastic Toy Soldier Review? I think it's called Plastic Soldier Review, whatever. And it's basically anything. I don't know if it's entirely 20 mm 1/72 scale. There may be some other scales in there. But it basically lists everything and for the most part shows you all the sprues of all the figures that come in there. You could spend like a whole afternoon looking through there. It's a really cool site. And all the ancients and medieval stuff in there as well. It's called Plastic Soldier Review. And it's a really cool site if you've never seen it. And things are organized by manufacturer or by date. So you want to find out who makes all the Napoleonic stuff. You go on there and it's really well. It's very user friendly, very easy to navigate. The site, and it's super cool. And it's on there. It'll also say, if there's kits that are the same, like, hey, this is the same kit as, the Airfix German infantry or what have you. So he's like, oh, well, no wonder the poses look similar. And I don't know that that is an issue with Airfix. I don't think Airfix does that, but I know that Italeri. Oh, we always called it Italieri. I think it's Italeri. And other ones do sometimes cross what they do. So you'll have like different packs, but they're really actually not different packs. They're just, maybe they're molded in a different plastic or something like that. Plastic Soldier Review. Check it out. It's super cool. Somebody put a lot of effort into that. And it's like an unboxing. I wonder what's in here. And you get to see, a sprue and how many of the sprues come in there. You got cool stuff. Like, you got conquistadors and stuff like that. As much as I would like to paint Airfix figures, them being bendy, I don't want my handiwork to be thrown out the window. I'm scared. But most figure manufacturers that are plastic are definitely more realistically proportioned than actual white metal figures. They're like realistic. They're like, you can make a diorama with them. These guys are all still going to look like playing pieces. So. I remember there was these miniatures called, I'm trying to think of who the figures came from. They were French, Atlantic figures. And man, they were just, they look, the box art makes, they look like they're one way, and you open them up and they're just something totally else, generic looking, soldiers. They don't look like they're from any denomination of any country. They're just like kind of thrown together. I remember when the local store had them in the early to mid 1980s, and they were just god awful. I may actually have to get some coffee. I'm kind of I did spend a couple hours outside after work, so that kind of did that. Wear me out a little bit. We never had the Airfix figures here in the U.S., or at least in this part of the U.S. when I was a kid. They were always rebranded as MPC. Now, they were exactly the same figures, just the MPC art was really good. I wonder who the painter on some of these things was, because I really liked whoever painted the box art on many of the MPC stuff. Looked really, really appealing. No gaming tonight. No, the wife's out of town the whole weekend, and I don't want to leave the daughter here. So, and I'm really not looking forward to being in that kind of heat after I've been in it all day at work. That's a minor point, but I don't want to miss any. A French miniature company. Actually, yeah, these guys are French. Actually, these guys are. But I was talking about Atlantic. Yeah, they're the plastic. French miniature company. I don't care, said Pierre. I'm from France. Yeah. Atlantic. But they're old too. They're probably made in the 70s or whatever. But I don't care, said Pierre. It matters not. The mainland French, as opposed to the island French. Whew. Anyone up for that World War II quiz game? Yeah. If at least four of you guys want to do it, we can do that. We can do that between the. I wouldn't mind testing if I made a difference with the response time. Yeah, we could certainly do it. The book is right over here. Find out how little you actually know. You know, when I was doing a bunch of World War II gaming or World War II reading, there's lots of stuff about World War II I don't give a shit to read about. Because you can't put it in scenarios. You can't put it in scenarios, or it's at a level that's way too strategic for my taste. All right, well, I'll do it and we'll see if anybody joins in. It's just for fun, anyways. It's just for bragging rights. All right. So the book we're talking about is the first World War II book I ever got. I probably got this in like 1982. I was in middle school for sure, and it was printed like in 1982. So, no, I just flipped over here, and here's a good question. I'm amazed secrets of World War II are still being released. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that, there's stuff that's going on now we're never going to know, you know? Okay, question 1. Name the German town, and we'll be able to test how fast your response times are, because I changed that going in. I changed it to, should be less of a delay. So, name the German town where the Western Allies and the Russians linked up in April 1945. So the Western Allies and the Russians linked up in April 1945. There's that famous picture where they're shaking hands. Some American guys shaking hands with a damn commie. On April 25th. What's the name of the town? Worth 1 point. Torgau. Boom! Joe's got it. That's it. At 4:40 p.m. on April 25th in Torgau on the Elbe, Lieutenant William D. Robertson of Los Angeles, U.S., 69th Division, 1st Army, met soldiers of Marshal Koniev's 1st Ukrainian Army on the twisted and sloping girders of a blown-out bridge spanning the Elbe. And here's the picture. Okay. In this photo, Robertson and Soviet Lieutenant Shilvasko reenact their first embrace. Nothing like hugging a commie. However, Lieutenant Albert Kotzebue, also of the U.S. 69th, and a patrol of troops crossed the Elbe at 1:30 p.m. and reported meeting Russian soldiers in Strela. This would have been 3 hours before Robertson's Torgau meeting, which is considered the official meeting. Well, there you have it. It's the official meeting. We don't care about no half-ass meeting. Who were the first victims of poison gas extermination at Auschwitz? It was on September 3rd, 1941. Who were the first victims? I don't want their names. Like, what were they? What grouping was it? Gypsies, no. That's the kind of grouping we're looking for, something like that. Was it, men who stare at goats, or, British journalists, or blacks. There were no blacks in Europe. Homosexuals, nope. Nope, they might have been homosexual, but I don't think so. I don't think that they were being that specific at that point. I'm going to give you guys a hint. It's a group of people that there was a lot of. They had a lot of these to pick from. It wasn't difficult to find them. I guess my daughter and her friend are really enjoying the movie. Laughing up a storm over there. Mentally handicapped. Yes, it wasn't difficult to find mentally handicapped people in Germany. That's how Hitler got elected. Dissidents, no. Jews, no. Too obvious. I'm going to give you the date. September 3rd, 1941. What did the Germans have a shitload of in September of 1941? And no, it wasn't Germans. Man, there's always so many Germans in Germany. Well, that's why it's called Germany, dude. Kind of like that. What does that line go? That's the problem with Scotland, is it's full of Scots. Russians, prisoners of war. Exactly. That's literally what it says. Russian prisoners of war. Okay, one for Nordic. Nordic's in lead. 5 points. Okay, yeah, we carried him up for the day. It doesn't really matter. Gestapo, no. Gestapo. Sorry, we kill our own people. Why'd you kill the Gestapo guys? Because they want to kill things too, faster. Who was the first member of the U.S. Congress to enlist after Pearl Harbor? Who was the first member of Congress to enlist after Pearl Harbor? So this person was in Congress, and they were the first congressperson. Congressman? Yes, they were a congressman. Here's a hint, it wasn't a woman. Montgomery. A popular answer. Kennedy, no. Good guess, but no. I wouldn't know this. It's somebody you've heard of. It's somebody you should have heard of. Joe Biden, he's old enough. No. Is he old enough? I don't think he would have been old enough. Congressman, sir, not appearing in this film. That's right. Oh, my daughter loves that movie. I don't know why. I mean, it's funny, but I just didn't think she was old enough to get it. And every time we watch it, we haven't seen it that many times, she finds something new. We were laughing about the old woman beating the cat. It's just funny. Obviously, we don't want people beating cats, but, you know. No American elected official would ever enlist to fight nowadays. Yeah. John Smith. You guys want a hint? It's somebody from Texas. Somebody from Texas. You're a representative from Texas. Dun, 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 dun. Oh. I'm having trouble with my whites. Trying to figure out where the latest one is. These are all, I need to throw some of these away. Sir, not appearing in this film. This one is old and shit. I need to pick one of those up at the hobby store. Need some new white. Wow, I can't believe one of these is the new one, because these are all in terrible shape. Still nothing? Representative from Texas. They ended up running for president. Somebody from Texas, representative from Texas that ran for president. And no, it's not W. W. Was there a Bush back then? There's always been a fucking Bush. They've been around forever. Crap, I have the name on the tip of my tongue. They're a representative from Texas that ran for president. They ran for president and won. That should only narrow it down to two people. Both of which served in World War II. Both of them served in the Navy. Oh, I take it back. There's three of them because Nixon's not one of them. Nixon was not one of the choices. Nope. But he's not from Texas. He's from California, remember? Two guys from Texas that served in World War II. Both of them in the Navy. Nope. Yes, he served in World War II in the Navy, but he's not from Texas. I love it. I love it. Somebody will get it eventually. This is a representative from Texas. They were the first person to enlist after Pearl Harbor. They're a representative from Texas. They served in the Navy. They ran for president and won. And there's two people that are from Texas and served in the Navy and ran for president and won. Two of them. One of them flew. The other one did not fly for the Navy. This is the one that did not fly. Wow. You guys need some civics. Okay. Another clue. Couldn't do it without Google's help. Another clue. This person that is from Texas, this is kind of fun. It's keeping me entertained. It doesn't matter which one you guys win. It's just to keep score, you know. It's kind of like, you know, kids soccer. Well, we don't keep score. Wrong answer. You keep score. The score just doesn't matter, but you got to keep score because why even bother doing it? Okay. They're from Texas. They ran for president. One served in the Navy. This one did not fly. And they were also president during a conflict. The other one was president during a conflict too. Johnson, yes! The Big Johnson. Yep. All right. Coden's got 5 points, tied with Nordic. I take bets and break kneecaps over kids' soccer. Oh, you're one of those dickhead parents? I'll be right back. I'd go take a pee break. Actually, you know what? No. We're going to do a question. You guys can think about it while I'm doing a pee break. Name the first. First is important. Did Johnson run? Yeah. He had to run the second time. He had part of the term after Kennedy got shot, and then he had to run the second time. Remember, he beat, whatchamacallit? Goldwater. Name the first geographic area to be awarded a medal during the war. Of course, the war we're talking about is World War II. No, Johnson did not fly in World War II. No, the one that didn't fly was him. The one that flew was Papa Bush. Remember, he was a Avenger pilot. And of course, Nixon was also in the Navy. I forgot about that one, but he's not from Texas. First geographic area to be awarded a medal during the war. And I'm going to take a pre-break. Malta. Okay. All right. One for Nordic. You got it. I wonder what the second one was. The island of Malta, which received the George Cross from Britain for its heroic stand against the Axis. What was the worst military disaster ever suffered by a European nation in the Orient? What was the worst military disaster ever suffered? Here's the key important things. It was suffered by a European nation, that means not the United States, in the Orient. You have a friend that lives on Malta. That's pretty cool. Is he a knight? A knight of Malta. What's the worst military disaster ever suffered by a European nation in the Orient? The surrender of Hong Kong. No. Be right back. Singapore. Doug Noble's on the table, on there. Yeah, that's the one. What does it say about the surrender of Singapore? Fall of Singapore on February 15th, 1942, along with the surrender of more than 70,000 troops and civilians. Okay. Noble Doug. Back to one more thing about Johnson. And don't mean to offend anybody here. And he's before my time. I mean, I read about him and stuff like that. But more than anybody else, in my opinion, I think he looks more presidential than anybody. I mean, he just fits the bill of looks-wise. But anyhow, now everything goes. We got people with, bad hair and, that doesn't apply anymore. Oh, man. Oh, he's a miniature painter in Malta. Cool. Well, no, we're all talking about World War II, Kevin, so Boxer Rebellion doesn't, that doesn't count. I still want to see that 55 Days in Peking. I've never seen it. Looks like it'd be cool. I want to see those dragon cannons. Identify the only two. Do I have a bird? No, I have a daughter that's really excited at watching whatever movie she's watching with her friend in the other room. Do I have a bird? No. No, I'm not a pet person. No, I don't mind pets. As a matter of fact, as I've gotten older, I've kind of appreciate dogs a little more. But I don't want an animal living in the house. So I'm not picking up a dog's shit. They're picking up my shit, not the other way around. So I didn't grow up with any pets, so I'm not used to them. Identify the only two civilian. These are worth 1 point each. Identify the only two civilian activities in Berlin that did not cease during the attack, surrender, and occupation of the city. Only two civilian activities. One of them is a type of business, and another one is, you're not going to get the other one. I'm probably going to end up having to give it to you. What's the only thing that didn't stop production while Berlin was being attacked, while it surrendered, and while it was occupied? What kept going? And it's a civilian thing. And it's something like that. Baking. No, it wasn't baking. That's the kind of answer we're looking for. That's the kind of answer we're looking for. Postal service. That's also the other kind of answer we're looking for. No, not the Postal Service. Butchers. Nope. I guess they stopped, or the book is wrong. Yeah. Butchers probably ran every day. They just had to miss some kind of week. Dancing. We were dancing in the streets. No, not dancing. School. Nope. Not according to this book. That wasn't it. No school today, so there's no lesson to learn. You will learn it on the Russian front. So I went today. There's a guy that I know who's out in, no, I don't know him. He's on Facebook, and he was posting pictures went out to Bovington, the tank museum out in the UK. I know they have a shop. So I'm like, let's see if they have anything cool. I'm just kind of surfing around. And they have, for 15 quid, they have a Panzerfaust that is a blow-up toy. So a real-life Panzerfaust, like a blow-up toy. And I'm thinking, that could be really cool as a pool floaty. But that's a bit expensive. But that'd be cool to have a pool floaty that's a Panzerfaust. Nope. The only two civilian activities in Berlin that did not cease during the attack: surrender and occupation of the city. Attack, surrender, and occupation of the city. They operated without interruption. I'll give you guys another minute. I don't know if I would have gotten this, honestly. It just came up on it. So this is probably something that nobody's going to get. But the bus. Nope. That's not it. That's not one of them. There's actually two answers in there. One of them is easier to get than the other one. Weather service. Holy shit, you got the difficult one. Man. Another one for Doug. Dog walking services. Again, send them to the Russian front. Nope, telephone service isn't it. Remember, you can't use the internet. I wouldn't have gotten either one of these two. Banking, nope. I guess they stopped banking. Soviet Tank Recognition School. Well, you know how all the Allied guys in Normandy, every tank was a Tiger. Over there, everything was a KV-2. Ah, we're getting attacked by KV-2s, you know. I love that story. I love that story in June. It might have been in July, but I'm going to say June 1941, where that one KV holds up the entire advance in Russia. That's a great freaking story. All right. The two activities, only two civilian activities in Berlin that did not cease during the attack, surrender, and occupation of the city. The city, of course, is Berlin. The Weather Bureau operated without interruption, and so did the 17 breweries. I guess must have the beer. You guys know Japanese generals? You're about to. Identify the Japanese general who did what was thought impossible and crossed the Owen Stanley Mountains in New Guinea. What's the name of the Japanese general who thought it was impossible to cross the Owen Stanley Mountains in New Guinea, and he did it? What's his name? Never heard of this guy. But then, I don't know jack shit about the Pacific. Other than, the obvious stuff. Tojo, nope. No, I don't think Tojo went into combat. He just sat and pushed papers around. He pushed papers around until he got hung. Or did he get shot? No, I'm pretty sure he got hung. Marco Tojo. What's the name of the Japanese general that thought it was impossible to cross the Hohenstanley Mountains and then he did it? I would never get this. Where's the Aussies at? The Aussies should know this. That's who was out in New Guinea. Who's that rat bastard that they were fighting in New Guinea? This thing on? No. Kill this light. Why is it shown as not charging when the thing is plugged in? It's not like I'm out of power, but... Oh. Now it's plugged into the wall. Snippy, snippy. All right. Generic Japanese General 23. Nope. Nakajima. Nope, he didn't build planes. Toyota, he didn't build trucks either. General Toyota. That's the Japanese. That's the Japanese equivalent to General Motors. General Toyota. Yeah. Back when the Japanese vehicles sucked. Back when Japanese land vehicles sucked. Trucks and stuff like that. You're never going to get it, are you guys? Okay. I don't blame you. I would know it. I would know it. So apparently, General Hori, H-O-R-I-I. So, the Japanese general who did what thought it was impossible, crossed the Hohenstanley Mountains in New Guinea. General Hori, who drowned in a river crossing when the Australians and Americans counterattacked in September to October 1942. The Japanese had come within 30 miles of Port Moresby. So, it's impossible to cross the mountains, and then he did it, but then he drowned in a river. Yeah, too late, Joe. Hori. What's the first American unit to cross the Rhine? I'm looking for division. What U.S. division was the first one to cross the Rhine? They wanted to go across the Rhine. These guys did. They're the first ones to do it. I said division. I'm like, okay, it was the 256th Reconnaissance Battalion. No. 6th Airborne. No. It was not an airborne division. 2nd Armored. Not that one. I know, you're just going to go on the line. 1st, 2nd, 3rd. No, it wasn't the 2nd Armored. I wouldn't have known. But, you know, I don't specialize in that. The war is lost stuff. You know, not interested in 3rd Infantry. Nope. 1st Infantry. Big red one. Wasn't them. The big red one is as opposed to the big red one. This is a new unit, so we have to come up with a new scheme for these guys. Interesting. I better look at my shield thing, because I better pick the shield, because now that I realize that there's some kind of a solidarity between the shield color and what their uniforms they have. Oh, I don't have this connected in. Do I? Yeah, I don't have that connected anymore. I'm for the little light, which I'm not using right this moment. So let's open up Excel. And go to Shield Sheet. This one was white with one of those things. Holy moly. Let's do green one with the yellow around it. Okay, it's going to be one of those two. Got it. All right. 45th. No, the 45th is cool. The 45th has that, it's the one that has that Thunderbird on it. I think they were in Italy the whole time. I could be wrong. I think the 45th Infantry was, that's a really cool symbol, that Thunderbird. Nope. All right, well, nobody gets it. 9th Armored Division. I wouldn't have gotten it. A unit of the 9th Armored Division, 1st Army, crossed the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen, March 7th, 1945. Identify 2 generals. Operation Dragoon. That the one that was in the south of France? I don't know shit about that one either. Identify 2 generals. One from the Allies, the other one from the Axis. 1 point each. If you get one and you get the other one, that's cool. That's, you know. Identify the 2 generals, one from the Allies, the other one from the Axis, who had a fondness for parakeets. 1 Allied general, 1 Axis general that liked parakeets. Chirp, chirp, mother, you know. Okay, well, I'm going to give this guy a light green tunic then. And I mean, it's going to be really light. Light green blue. This is like a Western Approaches color. Montgomery's one of them. One for Kevin. We should call this the Montgomery book. Just like the History Channel is the Hitler channel, this is the Montgomery book. Kevin gets another one. Kevin's up to 4. All right. Who is the Axis general that had a fondness for parakeets? Goering is not the other one, but that one makes sense. It's a guy that's not very well known. I have heard of him. I couldn't tell you what the hell he did. You know, Kesselring. No, I could tell you what Kesselring did. Wasn't him. He just liked to smile a lot. Smiling Albert. Isn't that what they called him? Happy Albert. What other candidate do we have here? Pastel green. Where's this sissy looking color? I actually think I like it better than the other one. Kesselring's a good guess, but I know who that guy is. I know a lot of German generals, so this is a guy I couldn't even tell you what it looked like. I don't think he was a frontline commander. I think he was kind of like a army group type, echelon type thing. Oh, and he's German. He's a German general that's not really well known. Not Yodel. Nope. Yodel. No, not Guderian. I'd jump on Grenade if I didn't know who Guderian was. As soon as I find a grenade, I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to give you a hint. His name starts with the letter B. A German general whose surname starts with the letter B. You probably sent that before I said letter B. There's not even a B in modal, so. Modal and Yodel. The Modal and Yodel Comedy Hour. Nope. Braunschweig? Buchenwald. No, that's a concentration camp. Although somebody could be named that. Bruno. Nope. I wouldn't have gotten this. I actually wouldn't have gotten Monty. I would have just guessed, you know. Montgomery's obviously a popular answer in this. You're throwing out names. All right. You guys are never going to get this. A guy named Blumentritt. I heard of him. Well, I don't know who the hell he is. He's probably like an army group commander. Both men kept several of the birds with them whenever possible. You've heard of him. I have too. I want to say he was like the Army Group B commander over Rommel in the West or something like that, an invasion of Normandy or something like that. I want to say that's what he is. That's what he's the most named for. I'm going to look him up. Let's find out about Blumentritt. Let's see where this Nazi bastard went. I know he might not be a Nazi. Well, you know, he was playing for the Nazi team, so. Gunther Blumentritt. Let's go. Let's see what Wikipedia says about this guy. Instrumental in planning 1931 invasion of Poland, 1940 invasion of France. He participated in Barbarossa. Well, everybody did. And afterward bore a large part of the responsibility for planning the defense of the Atlantic Wall in Normandy. Okay, but I think this guy was the commander over Rommel. September 1942, Blumentritt was made Chief of Staff to Rundstedt, overall commander of German forces in the West. In this capacity, he was responsible for much of the planning to defend France against Allied invasion. During the invasion of Normandy in 1944, he and his commander were taken by surprise at the location of the landings on the Cherbourg Peninsula, saying the disposition would more truly be described as coastal protection rather than defense, as we did not anticipate that any landing would be made on the west side of the Cherbourg Peninsula. That sector was held very lightly. We even put Russian units there. Okay. All right, there you go. Next question. Identify the U.S. general. Hey, Brian. We're just doing a World War II quiz and fat book quiz, just kind of killing time in between stuff. Identify the U.S. general who was smuggled into Italy to negotiate the surrender of the Italians. I didn't know this. It's somebody I've heard of. I just didn't know that they did such a thing. So they smuggled a U.S. general into Italy to negotiate the surrender of the Italians. Who is he? Here's a hint. It's a dude. It's a dude. I don't want to use the super awesome one right now. Let's use this one. That's Clint Eastwood. Not even close. He does have a first name and a last name, though. And obviously, if you're just joining us, can't use the internet. Don't be a cheater. That's not the point. If you don't know it, I wouldn't have known this. How would I have known this? It's a guy that I've certainly heard of, but why would I pick him? It's actually a guy that I've heard of, and he wouldn't come to mind. Now, the funny thing is if you told me who he was, I even know what he was a commander of. But his name doesn't come to mind. His name does not come to mind. I'll give you a hint. He is a divisional commander. General who's a divisional commander. This is why I skipped some of the questions, because if this one's difficult, some other ones I skip would just be like, there's no way you're getting them, you know. Because it's just stuff that you just wouldn't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but in all probability, probably not something that you guys would know. How about he's the commander of the 82nd Airborne Division. And he was the commander of the 82nd Airborne Division in Normandy as well. I'm pretty sure he held that command for a while. He's a guy that you guys probably have all heard of. If you mention his name. Gavin, no, that's it. He might have been the other airborne division. Jumpin' Jim Gavin, nope. Not him. Although same thing. That's like a guy I've heard of, but he would never come to mind. Jumpin' Jim Gavin. Gavin commanded the 82nd. Maybe he didn't. Maybe this guy didn't command at Normandy. You'll know who this guy is as soon as I tell you his name. Maxwell Taylor. There you go. Maybe Maxwell Taylor wasn't the commander at Normandy. You get a point nonetheless. Nordic lead the pack with 7 points. General Maxwell D. Taylor, artillery chief of the... Oh, he wasn't in command of it. He was just the artillery chief. Whoops. Artillery chief of the 82nd Airborne, who went via British PT boat, Italian corvette, and land vehicles into occupied Rome to meet with General Carboni. This was prior to the invasion of Italy. Interesting. Taylor commanded the 101st. Whoops. No more clues then. Okay, I looked at some of these over yesterday, the other day, and no. Identify any two of the Luftwaffes. I'm not going to tell you what the Luftwaffe is. If you don't know what the Luftwaffe is, you don't need to be listening to this. Identify any two of the Luftwaffe's 5 pilots. So according to this, there was 5 pilots who scored more than 250 kills. So according to this, there's 5 of them. You need to You need to name 2 of them. And you need to name... I'll give you a point for each one. You should know one right off the bat. One's a no-brainer that everybody should know. Which is the number 1 guy. Then the other guy I would know because he used to be interviewed on the History Channel all the time. And I honestly was in pretty good shape considering how old he was. One guy was interviewed all the time. You guys should know who the Blonde Knight is. That's what he was referred to as. Hartman, there he is. Everybody should know him. He's 352. He's the top ace. Got 4 other guys. Name one other one. Yeah, one guy was interviewed on the History Channel. Number 3 was interviewed on the History Channel all the time. And what would it have been? Galan. No, Galan didn't get kills worth of shit. He was up in the running like Battle of Britain. Him and the guy that got killed, Molders. Him and Molders were duking it out at the beginning of the war, but Galan fell way back. I think Galan's got less than 100 kills, which is still a shitload of kills. But back when the History Channel did history, yeah. I stopped watching it because, they would show the wrong footage. It would show that same They could be talking about the Battle of the Bulge, and there would be that same footage of that Panzer II crossing into France that just went into the ditch and came back up. I'm like, come on, those things haven't been running around for years, and you're showing that. One guy was interviewed all the time on the History Channel. Another guy flew, not the whole time, obviously. The other guy flew jets. I recognize his name as a jet guy. I've actually heard of all these guys except one. Eric Hartman is number 1 with 352 kills. Okay, Joe, good night. Nothing? Thought you guys know the guy, the History Channel guy. He's actually the only guy I would have named, other than Hartman. Okay, well, the other guys, we're going to go ahead and call this one. The other guys are the number one. Well, we'll work from the bottom. The 5th number of kills. This is a guy that I know flew Me-262s. Yeah. Was Walter Novotny, 255 kills. I knew he flew a 262 towards the end, because I used to build models and shit like that. In fourth place, a guy that I couldn't name out of a police lineup, Otto Kittel, Kittel, 267 kills. He didn't impress me. You need to have, you need more kills, Nazi boy, for me to pay attention. And I don't know if they were Nazis. I'm just saying that just to be cute. Number 3, the guy that I remember from the History Channel, he used to be around all the time. Gunter Rall, R-A-L-L. Gunter Rall. He flew in the West in Focke-Wulfs. Obviously, I'm sure these guys that have these huge kills, a lot of them are on the Eastern Front. Well, they all have to be. You got to get, your first 200 kills in on the Eastern Front for sure. Hartman got all of his on the Eastern Front, if I remember correctly. Gunter Rall, 275 kills. And number 2, the only guy who hasn't been named, because we did find number 1, Gerhard Barkhorn, 301. Identify the big three heads of state who met in Cairo in November 1943. Who are the three big heads of state who met in Cairo in November 1943? I'm only going to give 1 point for this one, because you ought to know who the two are. One's going to be difficult. Cairo 1943, big three heads of state. Churchill, no, Lenin's dead. Lenin's dead and buried. Ike was around, but he's not a head of state. Stalin, Roosevelt, Churchill. Got two of them right. I'm going to tell you, it's not Stalin. Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill, that's Yalta. So, Churchill, Roosevelt, who's the third head of state? Head of state. And I told you it's going to be tricky. But it is a guy that all of you have heard of. So it's not, the president of Honduras or something like that, That would be like absurd. De Gaulle, no. Not that wouldn't be tricky. That would be the obvious third answer, other than Stalin. And it is an allied person. So it is someone who fought the Axis. Roosevelt, Churchill, Chiang Kai-shek. There you go. That's him. Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek of China joined President Roosevelt of the U.S. Like, you need to say who he's from. And Prime Minister Winston Churchill of Great Britain. Okay, Doug gets another point. All right, excellent. Doug's up to 3. Who was the British commander of the Army of the Nile when war in Europe broke out? British commander, Army of the Nile, when the war in Europe broke out. Claude, you mean Auchinleck? No. Alexander, nope. That would have been my guess. No, it's a guy I've heard of. I just would have gotten it wrong. Honestly, I get my British commanders mixed up. Because they end up getting one position and then you promoted and they get moved somewhere else and, Wavell, there he is. One-eyed General Sir Archibald Wavell. And what I get about mixed up is, I've heard of all these guys, all right? I was thinking the one-eyed guy was Auchinleck. Obviously, he's not. Wavell, another one for Doug. On a roll, Doug. Got 4 points. Okay, I'm going to take this question and I'm going to turn it around because it's too difficult a question. So the question is, I'm going to read the question is to you, and then I will change it around to what the Tony question will be. Because this question, there's no way, any way you guys would get it. The question is, when did Field Marshal Erwin Rommel leave Africa for the last time? They want a date. There's no way in hell you're going to get it, okay? So I'm going to turn it around with, it happened on March 9th, 1943. Who was he replaced by? So Rommel left Africa for the last time on March 9th, 1943. Who was he replaced by? Who took his place? If you guys know anything about the Desert War, it's somebody you've heard of. You know this, I bet you do. And you're drawing a blank. Well, that's no good. That's no way to answer the question correctly. Actually, that's no way to answer the question incorrectly either, because you're drawing a blank. No answer is not an answer. I might not have gotten this either because of, you know. I mean, I haven't done Desert War stuff in freaking 30 years. 30 years? Maybe. Something like that. Rommel left Africa on March 9th, 1943. Who was he replaced by? I'll give you a hint. He ended up surrendering. So this is also the same guy that ended up, it doesn't say this, but he's the one that ended up surrendering. A month later, right? It was in April? Didn't the Germans surrender in April 1943? Something like that. Give you another couple minutes. Although you either know it or you don't know it. It's not like you should be able to look it up. I just want to make sure people have a chance to answer. I don't know what kind of a delays. You guys feel like the delays are a little bit better? Or a little bit less than it was the other night? I did change it. No, not Ribbentrop. Ribbentrop, as opposed to Ribbentrop. Can't spell his name and it's bugging me. Ribbon, 2 B's. The general that took over was Jürgen von Arnim, and he's the one who surrendered North Africa. Seems to be working well. There's normally like a 30-second delay, and I changed the settings when I signed on for it to run a little bit faster. No delays. Excellent. Excellent. There's no way you would know this question. This is weird as shit. What was the task of the Naring? No, not Naring. Oh, Naring is the guy you're thinking of. Yeah. Naring had like a funny upper lip or something like that. He was one of the commanders in Crusader, wasn't he? He was one of the division commanders in Crusader. I don't know. It was one of my favorite battles is Crusader. The British counterattack. That's a cool one. What was the task of the 180? Oh, I gotta show you this. I gotta show you this. See, is there anything cool that I'm gonna see? Nah, we're not doing the other 2 questions at the top. What? Come on. What was the task of the 183rd? The 813th? Oh. 813th. Oh, I'm an idiot. Never mind. Let me drink. I was thinking it should be RD. Whew. Okay, it's time for bed. Okay, last question. Oh, well. I had a senior moment. Okay, what was the task of the 813th? Well, when you read it correctly, it makes sense that it's a TH. What is the task of the 813th Pioneer Company of the Wehrmacht in Paris in August 1944? What was the 813th Pioneer Company tasked to do? Pick up the last croissants. Blow up the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, I'm giving that one to you. Placing explosives at various bridges and monuments, including the Eiffel Tower and Les Invalides. Hitler wanted the Allies to liberate ruins on the city. I'm guessing that Les Invalides is like the tomb of the unknown soldier for the French. Sounds right. What country did members of Detachment 101 come from in the Burma campaign? There was a unit called Detachment 101, and they were recruited from a certain country. What country was that they came from? Pioneers were engineers. Of course they were. Detachment 101, what country did they come from? No way I would have known this. Well, I mean, I could just start guessing. Nepal, that's a good guess. But no. What army? They fought against the Japanese. That's all I can tell you. So they're not Japanese. Punjab, no. Good question. Philippines, excellent guess. No. I mean, that is an excellent guess. And it makes sense. But not according to this book. I'd never even heard of them. Well, heard of the country, obviously. All right, here's your hint. New Zealand, no. It is a country that is still around today, but they call it something different. That should be a giveaway. And the other hint is, I don't call it that. I still go by the old name. That's the one that I'm looking for. Taiwan, nope. What's a country that they got this detachment of people to go fight the Japanese? Ceylon. You would think I'd still call it Ceylon? No, that's not it. But it did change its name. Myanmar, Burma, that's right. Myanmar, what the hell is that? Sounds like some kind of marmalade or something. Another one for Doug. Doug's on a roll. He's got 6. Uh-oh. Nordic's got 8. He's coming for him. Which campaign is considered, in quotation marks, the most spectacular series of victories ever gained over a British army? I don't think I'd agree with this, but that's what the book says. Which campaign is considered the most spectacular series of victories ever gained over a British army? And it was in World War II. And I wouldn't have gotten this. Not because I don't know what this is. I do know this very well. I just don't think it's all that in a bag of chips. North African campaign. Okay. Yeah, think smaller. Think smaller. Japanese invasion of Singapore. I would have thought that would be more significant. Tobruk. Yep. According to this, that's what it is. German campaign to capture Tobruk in 42. According to the history of the campaign as it is recorded in the official South African version. Oh, okay. Well, Doug got in there first. Oh, one more and Doug's tied. It doesn't matter. It's just something to talk about. Identify the German general given command of Army Group Vistula. Sounds like a lot of troops. Identify the German general giving the command of Army Group Vistula and ordered to hold the Russians on the Oder River as they attacked Berlin. Sounds like the guy who's the last line of defense. Who's that German bastard general? Who is he? I would have known this one if I wouldn't be. I'd be drawing a blank on this one. because this is somebody I don't think about very often. Well, first of all, I don't sit around and think about German generals all day. But if I did, it wouldn't be ones during this time of the war because I'm not wargaming something like that. Well, you have to get going. Okay. Well, you still got 8 points over a couple nights, so, you know, it'll build upon itself. You've got something to start with. What German general was assigned Army Group Vistula to hold the Russians back, keep them from coming into Berlin? I wouldn't call that an army group. There's bits and pieces. All right, let's get some leather brown. Jeez. I'll be right back. All right. No guesses on that, huh? Can't remember names. Wasn't somebody replaced at the last moment? Every freaking moment they were. It's a guy that doesn't have a very German sounding name. I'm probably going to call it. It's already almost 11. No, nothing? Guy's name is Colonel General Gotthard Heinrici. Heinrici. H-E-I-N R-I-C-I. Sounds Italian. Considered a brilliant defensive ossifer, but disliked by Hitler for holding religious beliefs. Okay, well, that's it for tonight. I'm on here almost 3 hours, and I didn't get shit painted, but that's okay. Had a good time. Had a really good time. Hopefully you guys did too. At least 4 of you guys did. Okay, well, hopefully the delays worked a little bit better than it did last time. But we'll catch you guys next time. Hopefully tomorrow. Do a little bit more painting. And guy from west disobeyed Hitler, went to east to save army. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow.